Hi, sixth graders, it's Mrs. Hebert. Today we are doing lesson 15.2. We're going to be talking about the volume of a rectangular prism. And I believe the pages should be 71 and 72, but wherever you're at in your notebook, go ahead and add that to your table of contents. Okay, to set up your notebook, go ahead and make 4 boxes for this lesson. The top 2 are going to be smaller and the bottom one will be smaller, but the middle one will be the biggest. And so go ahead and set up your paper like this. In box number 1, you're just going to write this information down. And it says a rectangular prism has 6 faces. Any pair of opposite faces can be called the bases of the prism. So you can take the top and the bottom, the left and the right, or the front and the back. As long as they're opposite of each other, you can call those two opposite sides bases in a prism. Okay, in box number 2, we're going to do 2 things. I actually forgot to do one of the things. So the thing that I forgot is to actually have you write down the definition of volume. So somewhere in box number 2, in addition to what I have here, which is the formula for volume of a rectangular prism, you also need to write down the definition for a volume. And I'm sorry, mine's going to be kind of messy because I'm using the stylus. But volume is the amount of space that a substance or object occupies. So the amount of space that a substance or object occupies. Or it can be enclosed within a container. So basically volume is what's inside of the container. You know, how much is held inside. Okay, and so I just wanted to add that. And then you need to add, for the formula to find the volume of a rectangular prism, which is what we're working on in this lesson today, it's going to be the area of the base times the height. And the area of the base is represented with a capital B because it's not just the base of a rectangle. We're looking at the area of a rectangular prism base. And so to do that, to find that base area, we take the length times the width of the rectangle, which is the prism's base. And when you get length times width, that gives you the area of one of the bases of the rectangular prism. In box number 3, you're going to draw a rectangular prism. It's kind of a tall rectangular prism. My picture isn't really quite accurate with the measurements, but just for the sake of doing the problem, go ahead and draw it similar to mine. So it really looks like you have a rectangle on top and a rectangle on bottom, and it's connected by 4 sides. So draw that. We'll do the base. We'll use the bottom and top as our bases, and so we'll use the base at the bottom. The area of the base we'll talk about in just a moment. And then the height for the rectangular prism will be 4.5 meters. So step 1 is to choose one face to be a base and find its area. So we're going to use the bottom because that's where we have the measurements. It's just easiest. And so the capital B means area of the base. So this is the area of a rectangle. So it will be the length times the width, which will be 3 times 2 1/4 meters. So 3 times 2 1/4 will give us the area of the base, which equals 3 times 9/4, which gives us 27/4. Sorry, that's kind of hard to see, but it's 27/4. So the area of my base is 27/4. Now that I have the area of my base, Now I'm going to multiply that times the height, because remember, when we're looking at volume, we're looking at a three-dimensional measurement. We're looking at not only the area of the base, but also the height. And so we'll say the volume is going to equal the area of the base, which is 27 over 4. And we're going to multiply that by the height of our rectangular prism, which in this case is 4 1/2 meters, which becomes 27 over 4 times 9/2. And if you do the math, you'll get 243 over 8. Because when we multiply fractions, we just multiply the numerator over and then put that over, we multiply the denominators. Okay, so then when I simplify that, I get 30 3/8 cubic meters, which we can write out, or we can say 30 3/8 meters cubed. Okay, and that is our volume of that rectangular prism. Okay, in box number 4, we're just going to do another example. We're going to draw a rectangular prism that is much shorter and wider. We'll think in theory. It looks like it's wider anyway. And so this, it looks like a rectangle on top and bottom, and then it has 4 rectangular sides because it's a rectangular prism. And we'll label those, we'll label the base 7.5 inches by 4 inches, and then the height will be 2.5 inches. So for the base, this first step is to find the area of one of the bases. So we're going to use the bottom because, again, we have the measurements for that. So that's 7 1/2 times 4. So the area of the base becomes 15 halves times 4, which gives me 15 times 4 is 60. 2 times 1 is 1. Is 2. And so that gives me 30 inches. Okay. So that's the first step. Then, now that I know the area of my base, I'm going to find the volume. And remember, that's the area of the base times the height. So I say volume equals 30 times my height, which is 2 1/2, which is 30 times 5 halves, which gives me 150 over 2, which gives me 75. And so the volume is going to be 75 cubic meters, or 75 meters cubed, or cubic meters, either way you want to say it. Okay. So when you finish, this is how your page should look, or it should look similar to this. And we'll do more examples in class, but really that's all there is in this lesson, is just finding the volume for rectangular prisms. We aren't doing any of the other shapes yet. Okay, so you're all done. Good job. See you in class.